I worked at Sainsbury supermarkets in Wales. Is the second largest city. You might know it. It's called Abertawe, and this was between March 2017 until October 2020. And the reason why I decided to stop is because this was during the lockdown, and in October 2020 we were still, I think we were in the second lockdown, and essentially what happened was that there was a quota on how many people could enter the aisle. We would have to keep a distance 2 meters from other shoppers, the colleagues. So the job became much more slower to do. You would have to you would have to wait until the aisle cleared. You would have to wait until there was enough distance to separate yourself from other colleagues before you can access the aisle. It just became really tedious, and the shift seemed like to go on forever because of that. Because you would always continuously have to stop and keep a distance and keep your mask. And in the end, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to pay enough. I this is just too much. Just because I didn't like the job. The worst thing that they could have asked me to do is to always continuously stop my activity. And I feel like that made the job much more unbearable for me because I already didn't like the environment. I felt like there was an hostility towards me because of the time, because I was depressed. I wasn't really communicating with people, and I think they saw that as me being some kind of oddball who didn't who had some mental issues. And anyway, a lot of people would just avoid me, not or they would, for example, they would say hello to somebody who was behind or in front of me, and they wouldn't say hi hello to me. And obviously, I realized that it was a very clique environment, and it was made up of a lot of submissive, meek, compliant people. So they would just followed whatever somebody else was doing, all the others would follow. So if somebody in authority, a team leader, a manager wasn't saying hi to me, was ignoring me, was pretending that was trying to dehumanize me in a way, and it was because when you don't acknowledge somebody as a person, in a way, it is an act of dehumanization, in my opinion, or of disdain, or of just nastiness. Like a form of bullying. Not acknowledging somebody's existence, somebody being there could be considered any of these things or all of those things combined. So anyway, that was my experience over the 3 years. I really didn't connect with anybody. I really didn't feel like I was respected as a person, as a worker. I was deemed okay because I would do a lot of overtime. Sometimes I would cover for people who were off just because I was only on a 12-hour contract, so I felt like if I could get more hours, it was sensible for me to do that. But I've talked to some people and a lot of people that had really low self-esteem, low self-worth, and there was a lot of people with autism and who didn't really perceive, who couldn't really engage with people, who had difficulty understanding jokes, emotions, and yeah, I feel like it's Sainsbury tends to give jobs to people who perhaps struggle to find jobs anywhere else, and also it's one of those companies that keeps staff there for us, either for as long as they quit or for as long as they retire, because there was a lot of staff in there who were working there, for decades, 3 or 4 decades in some instances, and it's quite incredible how people can just settle for a job and just do it from the moment they are legally able to work to the moment that they're legally able to retire. I find that a complete waste of life and human potential, and also of a person who just doesn't have any sort of ambition in terms of having a job. In terms of working, they just want to have a job and that's it. As long as it pays them a wage, they just want to settle. And I think that's why a lot of people work in Sainsbury's for a long time. But anyway, my experience there on a human level was poor, on a work level was poor, on an economic level it was poor because you were in little money, you were not picking up any meaningful skills. It was the same repetitive job over and over. The morale was poor because ultimately you knew you were doing a job that was low paid, that would didn't require any skill set, and that were highly replaceable. And obviously the human factor, because you were not acknowledged, you were not, nobody smiled at you, nobody cared. You were just there, you were doing your task. I was an online shopper, so essentially my performance was only measured on metrics, numbers, how much items I would pick in an hour, and also make sure that I was picking, I was packing them well, in terms of not squashing items, making sure that the hard item, the you know hard items went at the bottom of the tote, and then the lighter items would be at the above, above the hard items, so that they wouldn't be squashed, they wouldn't be damaged. So mostly it was about productivity, but they would also make sure that obviously, if you had too many customers who would complain, say, "Oh, my items arrived damaged," then you would obviously be held accountable for that as well. So that was it, really. And in the end, I became quite bitter towards the company, towards the people working in there. And it was when that pandemic lockdown came about that had a tremendous impact on my ability to do the job at the pace that I was accustomed to. I just found it intolerable to continue, and therefore I decided to resign and leave. And yeah, nobody cared. When somebody called me, somebody working in the pub, was even a manager, saying, "Oh, we will turn up." I was like, I was just feeling a bit down mentally, which at the time I was, because I was like, what the hell is this lockdown? How is it going to end? How long are we going to have to endure it for? It was just because it was months and months and months. And obviously, because I'm living with mentally unsound people, mentally unwell people, I just felt like, I don't know, like my life here was just in a nightmare, and yeah, it just put me down, and I just stopped going there. But yeah, would I recommend Sainsbury's? I would recommend it just to kind of get some exposure to customers, to kind of, get to know, just to kind of build discipline, work discipline, especially if you're new to work. But I wouldn't recommend it as a career, because the only way, because you don't learn any skills. The most tasks are kind of simple to execute. The job becomes boring, unfulfilling, unrewarding. So eventually, after a few years, maybe if you don't progress into the management positions, which you don't really need a lot to progress anyway, because most managers are there, they seem to be the brightest, most high achieving of people, to be honest. At least those who worked in the store that I was at, which is the only one in the city now. They used to have actually, well, the only like supermarket they have, like convenience store now. Obviously, a lot of these major supermarkets in the UK, like Tesco, Sainsbury's. Yeah, they've got a convenience store, which is pretty much a more condensed, smaller version of a supermarket where they just sell predominantly just the core essentials like milk, eggs, bread, whatever, that kind of thing, fruit, veg, limited selection of fruit and veg. But yeah, that's it. That's man, unfortunately, like I said, it was a bad experience on a human level, and in a way, I will always be bitter about it because I spent 3.5 years on that, and I just felt like potentially could have, you know, that that experience might have had a negative impact on me being able to kind of be enthusiastic about working anywhere else. But obviously, these big companies, ultimately, in my opinion, they don't care about how you feel about the job. They don't care about how happy you are in a job, because ultimately, those who are responsible for the companies, you're just the cost of the company. And the CEOs, their responsibility is the financial health of the company, the revenue, the profit, the cash flow. They don't care about, you know, job satisfaction. It's not really important for employees who don't really add any significant value to the business, the corporations of the business, who are easily replaceable. So I would just suggest that go to this job. If you take any job in a supermarket, just accept that you're not going to be treated with a lot of you're not going to be treated with a lot of care. You just go there, you do your job, you get paid, and that's it. Because, like I said, you're just ultimately low skilled, low paid worker. And large companies only care about profit leadership. They plan to care about building a positive work culture, but that's just for them. It's because of the customer. Because obviously, they don't want people to be rude to customers. They want people to kind of have a smile on their face, to be helpful. There's an element of in a way, it's just superficial care, for them to be able to say, "Oh, our colleagues are happy to work here, and we don't have any problems, and that's why we deliver excellent customer service." But in my opinion, that was not the case. There are people that were unhappy, disgruntled, and they weren't there because they couldn't find any other job. Anyway, thank you for listening. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? And have you ever worked in a supermarket? And have you felt this way? I'd be happy to listen. Thank you.